See, I could do better.
No,
You screwed up
don't worry
walking
about it.
in a way I have never seen walking screwed up before.
Now give it up for the pot stirrer.
Welcome to the Pot Stirrer, where we mix it up with bold business leaders who are disrupting, defying, and differentiating in today's fiercely competitive marketplace.
Hi everyone and welcome to the Pot Stirrer. I'm Gary Magenta and I'll be your host. My career has taken the unlikely path from restaurateur and cooking show host to organizational change expert at Root Inc., where I've been working for the last 18 years with the world's most influential businesses to help them disrupt, defy, and differentiate in the marketplace. So why are we here in a kitchen? Well, just the act of preparing food together creates natural conversation. And here on the Pot Stirrer, it's not about business talk. We just want to get to know today's most disruptive leaders and find out what they're doing so differently so we can learn from them. You see, food's the great unifier, and all the best conversations usually happen in the kitchen anyway. On today's episode, we have a leader who's running a company whose business is literally growing through the roof. Today we have with us the CEO and co-founder of AeroFarms. They are the world's largest indoor vertical farming company. Please help me welcome our guest, David Rosenberg. David, welcome to the studio today.
Great to be here, Gary.
How are you?
Doing great.
Good. So, you're what a farmer looks like today, huh?
I am a modern farmer. I kept the blue jeans, but yes, I'm a modern farmer.
Awesome. Well, good to have a modern farmer with us today, and you're in indoor vertical farming. And if you don't mind me saying, I think you're sort of really well built for that vertical job.
Yes, at work we get extra support. We have automated systems that help bring us all the way up to 40 feet high.
Oh, wow. You're farming up to 40 feet high.
Correct. We have 12 to 14 levels in that 40-foot range.
Okay, I'm really interested to dig into this and find out what you're farming and how you're farming it. Excited to have you. You do mostly greens, is that right?
We've grown 700 different varieties of plants, of which probably about 500 are leafy greens.
500, and do you do them all at the same time, or do you rotate those crops?
We rotate. In any given time, probably about 30 crops are growing in our last farm.
Okay, this is really interesting and especially exciting today because you're the first guest on the Pot Stirrer that's actually been in the food business, so we're going to get to eat some of your products today. What did you bring with you?
I brought a bunch of leafy greens, an arugula and a watercress, as well as some microgreens.
Okay, and we're going to make a salad today, yes?
Absolutely.
All right, good. So let's just go through some of the ingredients that we're going to use. We're going to use some roasted peppers. We've got Kalamata olives, artichokes, feta cheese, and you're going to make us a really simple dressing of olive oil, lemon, and fresh cracked pepper. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So what I'd like to do is learn a little bit about your business while I'm roasting some peppers. You want to help me do that?
Happy to.
All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do an indoor roast. Sometimes I do these on a grill, but absent of a grill, we can roast the peppers right here. So while that open flame is going, I'm just going to take the peppers and I'm going to lay them right on the flame. And as they char and get black, we're going to turn them. So while we're roasting these, tell me a little bit about how you got started in vertical farming.
I got into this space inspired to do good for society as well as the environment. Specifically, the problem I wanted to solve was water. 70% of our fresh water goes to agriculture. 70% of our freshwater contamination comes from agriculture. If one wants to solve water, one needs to solve agriculture.
So you didn't have a family background or an education in agriculture?
No, I'm actually a kid from New York City, never been around a farm, and my inspiration was water coupled with the fact that realizing in a closed loop system, we could farm with significantly less water.
So you're a company that's doing good and doing well at the same time.
Absolutely. We think of society, the environment, as well as shareholders.
Let's go back to the peppers for a minute. You can see, David, that these peppers are charring, they're getting black. And when they're done, we take these peppers when there's enough char all the way around, and we actually put them in a paper bag because we want to steam them. When you seal the paper bag, this creates a natural steam chamber. And so we set this aside and we bring out one that's already steamed, And what you're going to find is that the skin comes off very easily. What I usually do is just run this underwater, but even without running it underwater, you can see that the char, which is the skin, just peels off very easily. Okay, so tell us what you brought us today.
I brought some of my favorite. I like a peppery salad. So this is arugula, which we grew specifically to amplify the pepperiness.
So wait a minute. You grew it to amplify the pepperiness. What control do you have over the pepperiness of arugula?
This is the fun of indoor, fully controlled agriculture. We get to play with what the plant gets, whether it's sun or instead of sun, light spectrum at different wavelengths, different frequencies, nutrients, micronutrients, temperature, humidity, pH,
Right.
and it influences the taste.
So more sunlight or less sunlight, more water, less water can change the way the actual leaf tastes.
Exactly. I like to compare it as nature versus nurture. What makes the plants what they are? Is
Right.
it the genetics or is it the nurture,
Right.
the environment they're in? At AeroFarms, we focus on the nurture.
So no genetic modification to bring out a peppery flavor, but there is a nurture modification.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, that's very interesting. I didn't know that. Okay, so you have baby arugula that you've grown specifically to have a higher note of pepper.
Yes.
And what else have you brought?
We also brought watercress. Watercress, for those who don't know, is a superfood. It's also the highest nutritional density per caloric intake. So there's tremendous vitamin density in watercress.
So add more watercress to our salads, sandwiches.
Always.
Always. Okay, great. And over here, these look great. What are these?
These are microgreens. And what microgreens, whether it's a microgreen or a baby green, it's just the designation of when you harvest. So here we harvest these very young, and there's a high nutritional density of the microgreens.
May I taste these?
Absolutely.
This, when you open up this package, the aroma just hits you. They're really good. And how long does it take to grow something like this?
Something like this we grow in 5 days.
All right, so let's start to prepare this. I'm gonna take our roasted peppers and our artichokes, and I'm gonna start to cut those. Why don't you start to prepare the salad, and then we'll do the dressing together. Is that all right?
Sounds good.
How do you want me to cut the peppers? How do you want them? Do you want them in ribbons, or do you want them diced?
I usually dice them.
All right, so I'll cut through here and create a dice while you're putting the lettuce in. And then I will cut the artichokes. Is it all right if I quarter those?
Sure.
Okay, so I have peppers, I have artichoke. We already pre-cut the Kalamata olives. Again, we have some feta cheese and a simple dressing. So tell us what you're doing over there with the dressing.
I'm using olive oil, lemon, freshly squeezed lemon, and some pepper.
Okay, so we've got in here microgreens, we have arugula, and we have watercress, and they have a peppery note to them. We're gonna break that up a little bit with the salty, briny taste of these beautiful aubergine-colored Kalamata olives. We have the sweetness of the roasted red peppers that we've diced, and these beautiful, hearty, almost meaty artichoke hearts. And why don't we go ahead and add just a simply whisked fresh lemon juice, olive oil, and fresh ground pepper dressing to this. And if you hand me those tongs right there, I'll toss the salad, and why don't you add the feta cheese? I'm tossing the salad first because I don't want to mash up that feta too much. Now, you don't do anything fancy with this. As I understand it, in those dinners that you're making out of this 4 or 5 times a week, you'll eat it out of a bowl just like this.
That's
Is that
correct.
right?
Yeah.
So we're not doing any fancy decorations with the peppers or the artichokes. We're just mixing it. And why don't we lightly toss in that feta now? So does this look the way it looks when you make it at home?
Pretty much.
Can you hand me those plates, please? And let's plate this up for us to eat. Okay, so again, no fancy decoration. I'm just going to put a few artichokes and olives on top and some peppers for color. We're gonna sit down, have a nice conversation about your business and learn some more. This looks fantastic. Cheers, David.
Cheers.
Great. Let's grab something to eat.
Sounds good.
So David, we have this amazing Rosenberg salad made with your dream greens from AeroFarms. Tell us a little bit about what's in it. Just remind people of what the ingredients are.
Well, we start off with arugula and watercress and some microgreens. And then we've added roasted red peppers, which we've roasted ourselves, artichoke hearts, Mediterranean olives, feta cheese, and olive oil with some fresh lemon.
I'm going to be really honest with you. I'm not trying to just flatter you because you're a guest. The greens actually have a purpose. I think of salad oftentimes as just the holder for the dressing. Dressing's really light and mild, but the greens are crunchy and they're fresh and peppery and green. They taste so beautiful. They're just, I have to tell you, I love it. Very good.
My co-founder likes to say that the perfect salad doesn't need salad dressing, so how can we grow the plants to speak for themselves with the different pepperiness, sweetness, bitterness that could come together?
Well, you're actually leading us into my first question. Your partner says maybe we shouldn't have to have salad dressing. I'm thinking the same thing. So how is AeroFarms actually disrupting the traditional agriculture business?
I used to think of our disruption as a supply chain play.
Right.
Most salads are grown, leafy greens are grown in California, in Salinas, San Joaquin, then Arizona, then Mexico, depending on the season. And it takes about 5 days to bring it to the East Coast. So we were disintermediating the supply chain, enabling local food production at scale. As it turns out, we're competing on taste and textures as much as fresh.
Yeah, I'm with you on the competing on taste and texture because I understand the supply chain disruption and it's fantastic. The idea of using less dressing or no dressing and the salad tasting as good as it does is really disruptive on its own. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So how are you merging this concept of vertical height, right? Really high, 40 feet high, with farming? How did you bring those together?
The idea in local food production is to create food at scale. The scale is important because it gets our costs down.
Right.
So there are economies of scale which aren't so much in the growing, it's in the processing, which to AeroFarms is automation and packaging. We also have automation in seeding, harvesting, packaging, and cleaning. And one wants to, when you put in automation, have enough product so you're not using that 1 hour a day, but 24 hours a day.
Right.
So we want the scale, and that allows us to make this salad that we ate today. It's sold at ShopRite, Whole Foods, Fresh Direct, places like that, for $3.99 for a clamshell.
Which is competitive.
It's competitive
Yeah.
with the field farmer.
So $3.95 for a clamshell. What I heard from you is you're producing it faster, you're able to produce it in scale, and a lot of your labor is automated. So lower labor costs, faster production time,
Yeah.
and scale.
Yes, and we have a tremendous amount of product coming locally. So given that we grow 14 levels high, given that we have 25 crop turns a year,
Yeah.
we could grow a tremendous amount of product in a small footprint, which means we could get it in or near the cities.
And you're not, what's your furthest distance that you're traveling your product?
So Fresh Direct probably sells it within a 200-mile
Yeah,
radius.
so you're not going 5 days in a truck.
Correct.
Yeah, that's
so we
fantastic.
Could, within 24 hours from harvest, it's in the supermarket.
All right, so there's this whole idea of reducing that time of travel, but you also were solving for bigger problems when you started your business. What were you solving for?
I was originally inspired by water. So 70% of fresh water goes to agriculture, 70% of freshwater contamination comes from agriculture. Additionally, spoilage, so about
70% of the contamination comes from agriculture.
Right.
Is that because there's pesticides leaching into the water?
People over-fertilize, farmers
Yeah.
over-fertilize, and they put in pesticides, and then it goes into the water. It creates algae blooms, dead
Sure.
zones, and contaminated water.
Wow, interesting. Okay, so this water issue that you were solving for, say more about that.
Right. So we developed a way to grow a plant using closed loop systems. There's a lot of intellectual property in the filtration, so how we take out algae, leave in nutrients and micronutrients, and essentially get the roots, the water, to carry the nutrients, spray it. The air in AeroFarms refers to aeroponics, so we miss nutrition of the root structure, which wants oxygen. The leaves want carbon dioxide. We also put in supplemental CO2 at the leaves. But basically, what the roots don't absorb, we give another pass and re-water them using the same water.
Same water, using the same water twice.
And 3 times and 4 times.
Wow, very interesting. So you've got into vertical farming. You've got really a lot of science, it sounds like, behind what you're doing. What are some of the challenges that you faced along the way?
So we have to solve problems at scale. Building a farm the size of this kitchen is very different the size of this building. So we had to develop our standard operating processes to scale, as well as it's plants. Biology's funny. You try and do the same thing, but it doesn't always respond the same way. You have 2 kids, and they have very different personalities.
Yes, they do.
So not dissimilarly, we have different plants, and they just respond differently. So how fast can we tell what a plant's growing, if it's growing well or not, and adjust? So we're as much a data science and analytical company as anything else. We have thousands of sensors taking readings and adjusting to how we grow.
So you're adjusting not just to understand how you grow the crop in the future, but right there, that crop that you have, you're adjusting it by the day.
By the day, sometimes more frequently than that. So these sensors give an understanding. Sometimes it's machine vision, sometimes it's different types of sensors, and then we will adjust how we farm the plant, whether it's how much nutrients, how much water, what the temperature is, the humidity, the pH, the spectrum, intensity, frequency. We have an idea of what a plant wants, and then again, given the information that we're seeing from the plant, we call ourselves plant whisperers. We make
Love
adjustments.
That. Plant Whisperer, that's a great title. Do you have a chief plant whisperer officer?
We do. We have someone that's in charge of the plants, and their background is in agronomy. We also have plant physiologists, plant pathologists, molecular biologists, microbiologists. They could get so much information from a leaf. They'll understand what's the width, the height, the stem length, the petiole length, the ratio of that, the curvature, the texture, the spotting, the ripping. It's all information, how we can use this information to be better farmers, and we're always trying to push that knowledge. So
you're in agriculture, but you don't talk like you're somebody from agriculture. So what was your background before AeroFarms?
It was in business before this. I founded and led a nanotechnology company.
So nanotechnology to vertical farming. Awesome.
Not an intuitive switch.
No,
what I love
doesn't seem natural.
I love building businesses. I love bringing teams together. And how do we build businesses not just for the betterment of shareholders, but also for society as well as the environment? So
let's talk about that building business piece. Tell us a little bit about your culture. Did you build it deliberately, or is it organic? Tell us what it's like.
We get about 500 resumes a month. People very much want to come to AeroFarms.
Wow. Yeah.
And they want to come because we're mission driven and we're action oriented. We're trying to change the world. Change the world is bold, and we move fast. There's a lot to do. We want to build these farms all over the world. We want to do it in a way so our impact on the world is better and better, and the negative stuff is less and less. So how do we grow with less water? How do we grow with less nutrients? How do we do more with less? So let's talk about the product a little bit more. What makes your product stand out from your competitors outside of flavor? Flavor's fantastic, distinctive right away, but outside of that, how does your product stand out from your competitors? So there are 3 main features. One is freshness. So here, local production at scale. So everyone has access to fresh food 365 days a year. Second is flavor, and third is pesticide free. People aren't aware that when they eat even organic food, it's often organic pesticides. At AeroFarms, we grow with 0 pesticides. No pesticides, herbicides, fungicides. Additionally, our cloth growth media barriers the nutrients, so the leaves stay pristine. When it says triple wash, people don't realize that's washing off the pesticides. At AeroFarms, there's nothing to wash off. So your products are not washed? One shouldn't wash them because there's nothing to wash off. And the washing step is where a micro-contamination becomes a macro-contamination. Wow. So we eliminate one of those big negative points of the processing. So you don't wash them. Do I need to wash them when I get them home? Absolutely not. Eat them raw. My 10-year-old, he eats our baby kale like popcorn right out of the container. That's incredible. Okay, so we have a few minutes left. I want to ask you what I call the lightning round questions. What's your go-to shower song? Go-to shower song is probably Bruno Mars. Bruno Mars? Yeah. Oh, you do some 24 karat gold action in the shower there? All right, good. I like Bruno Mars. He and I are the same height. So if your products could talk, what would they say about AeroFarms and the experience they had with you? They'd say life is beautiful. Wow, nice.
What would your employees say about the experience they're having with you?
They're excited by the innovation that's happening in Newark. Our biggest impact in the city isn't local food, alleviating a food desert. It isn't job creation, which both are happening, but it's the innovation that's happening in the city.
So imagine for a second that you could grow a unique, never conceived item. What would it be and why?
It would be highly nutritious. It would be, I personally like a mustard taste. So it would be a mustardy, peppery taste, and it would have a good crisp to it.
So it'd be a green. You grow a new
Probably
green.
be a green.
So crisp, highly nutritious, mustardy. So when I come and visit you in Newark, maybe I'll get a prototype of the first sample of that?
Absolutely.
Can't wait to come and visit you. Thank you so much for coming on the Pot Stirrer today. I enjoyed having you.
My pleasure, Gary.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.